In the year 711, Muslim forces crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and set foot on the Iberian Peninsula, forever altering the course of European history. Led by the Berber general Tariq ibn Ziyad, the invading army swiftly defeated the Visigothic king Roderick at the Battle of Guadalete. What followed was not just a military conquest, but the birth of a new civilization, Al-Andalus. Al-Andalus became a beacon of culture, science, and coexistence, where Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived under a unique social structure. Cities like Córdoba, Granada, and Seville flourished into centers of learning, medicine, and architecture. The Great Mosque of Córdoba stood as a symbol of Islamic artistry and innovation in the heart of Christian Europe. Scholars in Al-Andalus translated Greek texts, developed surgical tools, and laid the groundwork for European Renaissance thought. Libraries held hundreds of thousands of manuscripts, while much of Christian Europe remained illiterate and fragmented. Music, poetry, and philosophy thrived in the courts of Muslim rulers, blending Arab, Berber, and Iberian traditions. Al-Andalus wasn't without internal tension. Emirs and caliphs competed for power as unity began to fray. The Umayyad Emirate in Córdoba grew into a caliphate in 929, asserting independence from the Abbasid caliphs in Baghdad. This golden age, however, would not last. In 1031, the caliphate fragmented into smaller kingdoms, known as taifas. The Taifa period saw both brilliant cultural exchange and bitter rivalries, as Muslim kings allied with Christians to fight each other. Christian kingdoms in the north, Castile, Aragon, Leon, seized the opportunity to launch the Reconquista. The turning point came in 1085, when Toledo fell into Christian hands, a major blow to Muslim Spain. In response, North African dynasties like the Almoravids and later the Almohads crossed into Iberia to defend Islam. They brought stricter interpretations of Islam and imposed order, but failed to restore long-term unity. Meanwhile, Christian forces advanced steadily, taking back city after city over centuries. In 1212, the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa marked a crushing defeat for the Muslims. By the mid-13th century, most of Al-Andalus had fallen, with only the Emirate of Granada remaining. Granada stood as the last bastion of Muslim rule, protected by high mountains and political diplomacy. Its rulers paid tribute to Christian monarchs, while preserving a rich court culture and scientific pursuits. The Alhambra Palace became a marvel of architecture, its walls whispering poetry and geometry. But Granada's fate was sealed in 1469, when Ferdinand of Aragon married Isabella of Castile, uniting Spain under one crown. In 1492, after a long siege, Granada surrendered. The Reconquista was complete. The fall of Granada marked not just a military victory, but the beginning of a campaign to erase Muslim identity from Spain. Muslims were initially promised religious freedom, but these promises were short-lived. Forced conversions began. Those who secretly practiced Islam were known as Moriscos. The Inquisition hunted them down, using torture and execution to ensure religious conformity. Mosques were turned into churches. Arabic was banned. Manuscripts were burned in public squares. A centuries-old civilization was systematically dismantled, yet its influence endured. Spanish language, music, architecture, and even food retained traces of Al-Andalus. In the universities of Europe, translated Arabic texts fueled advances in astronomy, medicine, and mathematics. Words like algebra, alcohol, and alchemy trace their roots to Al-Andalus. Gardens, fountains, and geometric tilework in southern Spain whisper the legacy of Islamic aesthetics. Even today, the Alhambra remains one of Spain's most visited sites, a haunting reminder of a lost era. But Al-Andalus was more than just monuments. It was a world of ideas, tolerance, and human achievement. It proved that different religions and cultures could coexist, share knowledge, and thrive. For nearly 800 years, it stood as a cultural bridge between East and West. Its fall marked the rise of a new Spain, but also the closing of a door on pluralism. The expulsion of Jews in 1492 followed the Muslim defeat, ending centuries of Jewish life in Iberia. By 1609, even the Moriscos were expelled, deemed untrustworthy despite generations of Christian conformity. Spain emerged as a Catholic empire, but the price was diversity, lost heritage, and centuries of repression. Meanwhile, the stories of Al-Andalus lived on in poems, legends, and silent ruins. From the fountains of the Alhambra to the arches of Córdoba, history speaks through stone. In North Africa and the Middle East, the memory of Al-Andalus became a symbol of lost glory and nostalgia. Muslim poets mourned Granada, calling it a paradise turned into ashes. Andalusi music survived in Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, keeping the melodies of Al-Andalus alive. Today, debates about identity, religion, and coexistence in Europe echo the lessons of Al-Andalus. It remains a reminder that civilizations rise and fall, but their ideas can outlive the walls they built. The tragedy of Al-Andalus is not only in its fall, but in how easily tolerance was replaced with tyranny. What if the pluralistic model had survived? What kind of Europe would we see today? In our divided world, the lessons of history are more important than ever. Al-Andalus shows us that cross-cultural exchange is possible, even in times of conflict. Its mosques and palaces may have crumbled, but its intellectual light continues to shine. From Andalusi music to revived Arabic calligraphy, fragments of that lost world still inspire. It wasn't a utopia, but it was proof of what human creativity can achieve when borders are open. The fall of Al-Andalus was a loss to the world, not just to Muslims, but to humanity. And though centuries have passed, the spirit of Al-Andalus refuses to be forgotten. This is the story of a civilization that lived, thrived, and vanished, but still echoes in the stones of Spain.